Hello and welcome to the Week 11 review of the JMD and JTT League. I'm Pete McManus and I'm joined by the one and only Brown Bear Rick. How are we, Rick? You well?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Interesting.
Thanks for coming on. You are in multiple of our leagues, so it was worth getting you on. It's also good, as I've just said to you off air, for me not to have to talk to myself for half an hour. So it's nice to have someone to have a bit of banter with and go through the leagues. And I feel like this was a good time. We've been trying to do this for a few weeks, and that's apologies from my side in that I've not been very well organised around work and stuff the last few weeks. But I feel like, and I don't know how you feel, but Week 11 we're definitely getting to the point where teams are starting to qualify for playoffs. Other teams are falling off, and it's the serious part of the season now. Like the next couple of weeks, it's basically the run right into the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, trying to push and get that bye. At least you don't have to have an extra match, and definitely trying to make sure you make the playoffs. But I suppose in a couple of leagues, the ones we're going to talk about, I'm right at the top. So it's trying to hold on and get through injuries and buys.
Well, I was looking, obviously, we'll go through yours. You're in 3 of our redraft, 1 dynasty, and I was looking at it today and I was like, this wasn't the best week to have you on because it wasn't the best. You're doing pretty well in all of them. And despite the fact that you lost in 3 out of 4 this weekend, so maybe there's lessons to be learned from those, but we will look at those in more detail. Firstly, before we get started on the leagues, tell us a bit about you. I can see, I'm guessing you're a Dolphins fan from the. How were you? How did you get into the Dolphins? How did you get into the NFL in general?
I'm trying to think years now, but it's probably far too long to even think about that kind of stuff. I mean, originally, what you see, obviously, American football and all the movies and stuff like that, and obviously they make it exciting. And not that the sport's not exciting, but it draws you in. The reason I got hooked to the Dolphins really is watching Ace Ventura, because obviously they're featured heavily in that with Dan Marino.
I'm sure you're not the only one.
No. I mean, to be fair, like Marino drew a lot of people into the sport in this country as well on his own, just playing. In terms of like actually getting into it and watching it, it was probably like maybe 10, 12 years ago, something like that. I'd be guessing kind of thing without sitting and working it out. Obviously you start watching it a little bit where you can, obviously highlight packages, and obviously it's become more accessible more recently. I say more recently. Game Pass has been around for a while. It feels like it's not been, but it probably has. And then you start watching the games, and people go fantasy, and you went to a couple of leagues, and you start, this is quite interesting. You start learning about players, and now I get people going, this guy left our roster. Yeah, he's on this guy's practice squad. And this guy. You start learning all the
that much detail. Did you make it over to Madrid for the weekend, or?
No, I didn't. No. I knew it was going to be costly. We've not long moved into this house and done some refurbishments and stuff like that. So, it didn't make it that far.
As I went down to a couple of the London games, and they cost me enough getting from Manchester to London. So I would imagine Madrid. I've done the Madrid trip a couple of times for other sports, and that's not cheap. So I don't blame you, especially when they're going to serve up that kind of a game as it will. I mean, you got to win, so that's what matters. How are you feeling about, before we talk fantasy? How are you feeling about the Dolphins in general? Are you McDaniel in, McDaniel out?
See, like he's shown what he can do in the early years. Now he's hit a bit of adversity, obviously, in the last couple of years, and now I'm not adverse to kind of working through a bit of adversity if we see where it's going. So I'm not necessarily out on McDaniel. I'd be happy to see him stick around, but obviously we're showing a little bit of kind of something in some of the games, like. Some of the earlier games, there was a couple of plays. If he'd gone the other way, we would have had a couple of extra wins. We'd be thinking differently. I'm certainly not out at the minute. I'm probably quite pleased that Gray's gone now, though. Because one of the things that kind of came out as they've got rid of that front office is they were all fairly close with Rosenhaus. and a lot of free agents who come into the Dolphins all seem to be connected with Rosenhaus. So hopefully there'll be a bit more kind of spread of players and we'll look a bit wider maybe.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the Dolphins are interesting because they're one of those teams that you can just never trust. Like when it comes to if you put a bet on at the weekend and you're doing an ACCA and the Dolphins are there, it's like you just can't trust them either way. They'll beat the Bills, then they'll lose to somebody else. Beat the Bills, lose to the Browns.
You put the Bills on the ACCA and the Dolphins come in and ruin that.
But I think the next two are like off the back of that's 2 wins on the trot, and then obviously a bye, and I think you've got the Saints
and the Jets,
and
then the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Bengals, which both could kind of. so
it's like
you're thinking 6-1, or even 10-7. Well, no, not quite far, but yeah.
There's some wins in there to be had, but you'll find a way. It just feels like the Dolphins will find a way to lose a game, lose to the Jets that they shouldn't lose, and then you go, right, we're back to square one. And
you'll see Tua have a brilliant game, and then the Commanders at the weekend just give the ball to Achan.
In one of our dynasty leagues that me and Ian play in, I have Tua and Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
And it's a super flex, and I've got a couple of other quarterbacks. Thankfully, I've got Jackson Dart now because he's coming in. But I was like, whenever I play Tua, whenever I leave Tua on the bench, he has a great game. Whenever I leave Lawrence on the bench, he has a great game. It's like they don't do it in my team, but they've got more than capable of doing it when they're on the bench. You just don't know when. There's no rhyme or reason to it. They're very similar. You don't know when those big games come in. So fantasy football. Before we click on the JDMD leagues specifically, you were saying to me before we jumped on, you're in 4 of our leagues. We're in another league together that I know about, and you were saying you're in quite a few.
We're in a couple. We've got a best ball one with quite a deep roster, which is 2 QB, super flex, 2 kickers. Yeah, so a bit of an interesting lineup on that one. Then the auction one with IDPs. But yeah, I mean, I'm quite easily 40 leagues if I take out the best ball. So 90, I think, maybe, overall. Obviously, the best ball doesn't take much in terms of managing because you can't do anything with it. But yeah.
No, I need to be in more. That's the one thing I've learned. I need to be in more best ball leagues. So we'll go with that. Right, let's click into our leagues and go from there. Just bear with me. Let me work this out. Right, so that's all of us on the screen. Right, so we'll start where we usually start in the Dynasty Leagues. This week I had a quick look at everything. No 200 points scored this week, which we usually have 1 or 2. The highest was 193 points. We'll get to that by one of our better known entrants. We did have 3 scores under 100 in the Dynasty League, including a winning score under 100, which blew my mind. So it was the right team facing the right team. We've now got 6 teams who've secured a winning season, so they've got 8 or more wins, including our first confirmed playoff team, which is somebody we both know, Rick, and 7 teams now have confirmed a losing record. So we'll get onto the Champions League and Europa League. Before we get started, congratulations to Chris Fox and the Yeovil Town 49ers who won the Divisional Cup with a good performance of 168 points. And he's actually in the Brady division, which is where we start. So a win for Chris in the cup, but also a win in the league, which is probably, 50 quid vouchers, not worth sniffing at. So I'm sure he would have enjoyed the win in the cup, but he also got the win over H in the league, which gets them to 5 and 6. H at 6 and 5.
Top scored in that division as well.
He did, 168. Just over owner of Brady there, Random Task at the bottom, who beat 5-yard rush. Murph, who will be disappointed, to score 159 points and lose. Jamie G10 is one of the 2 teams at 9 and 2. Not quite confirmed a playoff place yet, but he's on his way with 154 points there. And Wild Guns with another win, getting them to 149. Bad week for Evdokios, who's one of the 2 teams in this division at 2 and 9. Who are obviously definitely out of it at this point. I think it's going to take, on most divisions, it looks like it's going to take 8 wins. But I'm sure we'll have a few teams who sneak in at 7 and 7. This is probably a perfect example of that one of those divisions. You've got Jamie there at 9-2. Like I say, not completely confirmed yet, but he's 3 wins ahead of 5th place with 3 weeks to go. So he's going into the playoffs. Owner of Brady at 8-3, and then we've got 3 teams at 6-5. Chris Fox's Yeovil Town 49ers keep fighting at 5-6, and 2 out of the playoffs at 2-9. When you get to the point when you know you're out, are you one of these people who make sure you're still putting a lineup in anyway, but just don't really pay much attention to waivers and stuff like that, or are you completely switched off?
I mean, because I have a method, because I've got so many leagues, I work through and just set it all anyway. So yeah, I tend to just go through the process of setting it all. I mean, probably when we move on to our division, I'll talk about my plan as I kind of got towards trade deadline there as well. But yeah, I just because I go through it and have that process, I go through them all anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in 2 leagues where I'm out of it, including one of our redrafts, which we'll get to. But I was like, I just can't not set my lineup. Like I feel like I'm letting the rest of the league down. And I know people are just like, yeah, that league's dead to me, and we'll just sort of leave it at that point. I was like, I can't not. I also just want to win. I want a better. I don't want to finish 2-12. I'd rather finish 4-10 on a little bit of a winning run, and at least I've made a bit of an effort, and it doesn't look quite as bad. Don't want to finish bottom. Let's quickly move on.
You want to help, like I say, help out the other teams. Like you put out your best lineup so that you earn your way into the playoffs for sure, definitely.
That said, there are a few leagues where I'm playing teams who are like 3-8 at this week, and I'm like, you're out of it. You can just not set your lineup if you want. I'm not bothered when people do it against me. I just won't be the one doing it against them. Mentioned at the top, 193 points. The JTT commish winning his matchup by 80 points over 89 Monday. Who's obviously our Super Bowl champion in Elway, who is on his last legs at 4-7. But the JTT Cup commish keeps himself alive at 5-6 with a big score. Let's have a quick look. It was an interesting week because there was some players who scored really highly. Obviously, Josh Allen at quarterback will help. And starting the week with Trevion Henderson with 32 points. I mean, that's 70 odd between those 2 players. So that's a good start. Deebo Samuel, there wasn't a lot out there at wide receiver. Drake London with a decent score before he went out injured. So that's something to look at in terms of replacing. Not great from kicker and D, but more than enough points there with 193.
Yeah. On the other side, you had Egbuka, who's in a shootout game, but didn't seem to get the points.
There was
going his way.
A lot of points, other than Josh Allen and Sean Tucker, there was a lot of points going in the Bills Bucks game, but nobody really seems to be, other than those 2, Josh Allen and Sean Tucker, which I don't think the Sean Tucker one came from nowhere. So I'm not sure how many people especially in 8-team leagues, would have started Sean Tucker. Wins for Dr. Dre, moves himself to 8-3 over Team Pestle, who are 6-5. Head to the table with a win to go to 6-5, 142 points there over DS Liddy, and Team Suarez Power with 143 points over Team Shenburns. I did actually look at this as I was going through it. There's a lot of teams either 5-6 or 6-5. We've obviously got 5 dynasty divisions, so that's 40 teams. Exactly half of them, which is 20 teams, are either 5-6 or 6-5 going into week 12, which shows you how competitive these leagues are, which is obviously what we were hoping for, what we're aiming for, and what you really hope for in a 8-team format. So Dr. Dre does, again, like the first division that we went through in the Brady division, not quite confirmed, but with that point scored and a 3-game lead, I think he can start planning for the playoffs at 8-3. And then we've got 2 teams at 6-5 and 4 fighting it out at 5-6. And even 89 Monday, I know he lost this week. He's still not worth giving up on his title. He's still a couple of wins. If he can get to 7-7, probably going to take 7-7. I don't think 6-8 will be enough, but if he can get to 7-7, he's still alive in that division.
Yeah, I mean, 3 games left to play and only two wins away from second place. Yeah,
it's all to play for in that division, which is great to see. Right onto my division, Manning, which is a little bit less competitive in terms of lots of it to play for. A few teams already confirmed out of it. A win for my team, 174 points, which I think was just short of the top. Big Bods beat me by less than a point. So not quite the biggest score of the week, but a score I was pretty pleased with. I've done quite well. I've won quite a few on the trot, which the reason I'm quite pleased with it is because I've only actually got one quarterback at the moment. So I went into the season with two. I've spent all season trying to add a third. And I've got Jared Goff and CJ Stroud. And obviously CJ Stroud's now out with concussion. So I'm just riding Jared Goff basically and filling in my superflex spot with running backs and the odd wide receiver. So 174 I will take, but I feel like I'm going to need a fit and firing CJ Stroud back before the playoffs kick in.
Yeah.
PM Big Man, big loss for him, moves him down to 4-7. This was the win I was talking about. So our champion team, Mungry Pablo, is probably already out of it at 2-8. Wins with 96 points against Matty Leo, who had an absolute shocker of only 78 points. They both sit there at 3-8. Team Big Bods we just talked about is hanging around on the outskirts of the playoffs. That was a big win over the last waltz that got him to within a win of the playoff spots. 174 against 147. And then Team Scuba Lee, who leads the way, 148 to 142, leaves Team Scuba Lee at the top. So that's they're two teams at 8-3. I'm sat there at 7-4. Last Waltz at 6-5, and then Big Bods, who's keeping us looking over our shoulder at 5-6. PM Big Man probably out of it now at 4-7. Although they can win the last three, you never know. And Matty Leo and Mungry Pablo definitely out of it at 3-8.
Yeah, so the top of the table clash makes the number one seed change hands.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. When you were in an 8, when you came into this season, because we're moving on to your when you look at it, what's the target? Do you want to win the division? Are you just looking at it going, as long as I make the playoffs, that's all that matters? Obviously, there's no buys in an 8-team league, so what's the target for you?
I came into the season like I felt like I finished the season quite strong. So when it was at the semi-finals last year, of the 4 teams, I had the second highest score, but was eliminated by the Dynasty Cowboys, who took it overall. Yeah. So I was kind of thinking, I'm going to make a push and see if we can go, one better and try and get into the final at least. But then I had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas as my 2 main wide receivers. So it's definitely
which would have been great last year.
So I made a conscious decision at the trade deadline to kind of go, let's move some pieces, get some draft picks, and see what happens. Basically, I just felt like I was going to struggle to kind of push into the playoffs with not a stronger wide receiver core this year. So it's kind of half gone into kind of thinking about next year, but if I make the playoffs, so I'll give it my best kind of thing. Yeah. But lost again this week. So,
well, let's quickly go through the scores. So, Team the Boy, you got a 6th win, 121 points. You're just in the wrong matchup a little bit this week. Beats 103. If you'd have been in that one, you would have won. Dynasty Cowboys with a win, obviously looking at retaining that title now, 7-4, having gone. I think he was. Let me just double check. 11-3 last year. Is now 7-4. So 2 very good years from the Dynasty Cowboys. Manchester Inferno. Ian's Manchester Inferno is the first team to complete or to officially book themselves into the playoffs. 9-2 with 168 points. So congratulations to Ian. Hurts me to have to say that live on a podcast, but this will be a great sign to whether he actually pays any attention to these updates, because he will have something to say about that. With a big win over surviving Taysom Hill. And then your team, who I'm going to let you read the name of your team out.
So Heidelio Neighborzino.
Which you said much better.
Neighbors,
which we've said much better than I have at any point. I lost there to MKC Papa. Let's have a quick look at it. So Brock Purdy at quarterback, solid start. Obviously up against Josh Allen. That's not the start you wanted. You must have been pretty pleased with Henderson on Thursday night, though.
Yeah. No, when I woke up and said 3 touchdowns, I was like, "Excuse me." Definitely wasn't expecting that, but I knew we'd get more of a run.
What's your general sort of involvement in those night games? Do you get up for many of them? I mean, obviously, when we're over here in the UK, they're all in the middle of the night, so it's hard to do all of them.
Yeah.
But do you try and stay up for the odd one? Is it just when the Dolphins are playing? What's the situation?
Yeah, mainly the Dolphins, which has been shorter experiences this year when I've gone, oh, that's the 3rd turnover, I'll turn it off now. But yeah, generally it is mainly for the Dolphins that I make the effort for it. Otherwise, yeah, with the Game Pass, you can do short highlights and Game in 40, so yeah, you can catch up pretty quickly.
Yeah, the Game in 40 I really like. I did that for the Cowboys raid. I did get up last Thursday, but mainly because I had nothing on Friday last week. Because there wasn't a lot exciting me about Jets Patriots, but I did have Henderson in a few leagues, so I did enjoy it. Anyway, back to your team. Brock Purdy, good start. Really good running back duo of Achane and Henderson. He could keep you going for a few weeks. At wide receiver, looks like it's been wide receiver that's let you down this week. So Worthy, Johnson, both struggling there, and even Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's not the Keenan Allen form that he was in at the beginning of the year.
No, he's dropped. Yeah, it seems like he's still getting the targets, but just not converting them. But yeah,
no, I expected more from Theo Johnson this week, and I've got to admit, I thought with Winston in there throwing the ball around and not many options to throw it to, I thought he'd have more than 4 targets. That surprised me a little bit. And Woody Mark, the Texans' backfield is a confusing one. I was one of the many who spent a lot of fab on him after that breakout game about 6 weeks ago, and it's just he's had okay games since. He's had some disappointing games, but that was another one that was just a little bit disappointing.
I mean, he had the volume. It was 18 carries, I think it was, which is, what you want to see in a running back in fantasy. It just turns out that actually Tennessee aren't that bad against the run, even though they're. I mean, that game, the Texans and the Titans divisional game, can always be a challenge to kind of see what happens in those games as well. And it turned out it was a very boring game with that, because we were watching Red Zone. We happened to be out. We had our so I play flag football. We had our team awards night on the Sunday, so we were out on that and watching the games. And every time the Texans games came on, no, just move on to the next game.
I messaged H, who's obviously a big Texans fan, when they went for it on 4th down early in the first quarter. Instead of just kicking the field goal, and I was like, why would you not just take the 3 points? Like, the Titans you've got a great defense. The Titans aren't going to put up much, and just take the points, just get things rolling. And I think at halftime they still didn't have any points, and I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Just take the 3 points, and it's almost as if to go, well, we never know when we'll be in the red zone again, so we're just going to go for it instead of kicking a field goal. Got to be disappointed with Hurts, only 14 points. Feels like if you've got Jalen Hurts at quarterback, that floor should be higher than 14 points, but that wasn't a great game against another tough defense, I suppose.
It's definitely his rushing production this year that's keeping him going. The passing game is, again, other than the odd game, it's been fairly vanilla, so to say. Definitely want more from him.
Not a bad score, but obviously not enough for you this week. So that leaves Ian top of the league table at 9-2, 2-game gap to Dynasty Cowboys, the obvious reigning champions, and Ginger Mamba surviving Taysom Hill. Then it's the boy at 6-5, and then it's you guys at 5-6. Rookie Raven not out of it at 4-7, really struggling with that points against scored, which seems a lot higher than everybody else has faced. Drift Edge and MKC Papa both going to be out of it at 3-8 now. Let's look at week 12. Who have you got this week? You have Ian's Manchester Infernos. Who can put his feet up now? So maybe
we'll see. Yeah, does he set his line up?
Maybe if you give him a shout and have a word with him, he might take it easy on you this week and then give you a win. You never know. I'm not
wouldn't expect
suggesting he should do that. But the boy faced Dynasty Cowboys as well, so that'll be a tough game for him. If he can get the win over Ian, get back to 6-6, maybe the boy slips to 6-6 as well, and that'll give you something to look forward to and work on. Week 13, got Rookie Raven. Boy, he's got a tough one with Survivors and Taysom Hill. I'm hoping that week 14 you're playing the boy. You are. Look at that. It's all set up. Win the next two, mate, and we can get you back on for a preview of the big week 14 clash in the Merino division. So that could be an interesting finish to the season. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, there are some buys in week 14 as well. So
it's
an interesting week.
It's not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about how you've got many leagues. I don't know how you're feeling about this week, but some of my rosters are absolutely decimated this week. Like they were looking bad enough before Jamar Chase decided he'd take the week off, and it looks like Drake London's out. Marvin Harrison's has been confirmed out. I saw earlier. He's like, there's obviously CJ Stroud's not going to make it back Thursday. There's a lot of players I've got on various rosters who seem to be.
I think my highest shares are probably like Achane and Waddle are right up there in terms of players I have a lot of. So getting those covered for this week has been the challenge, especially with Achane, how he's been this year.
He's a tough one. He's got about the safest floor, I think, of any running back in the league. Those 8 receptions he gets every game, because Tua has one glance up to see if Waddle's free, and when he's not, it's like, I'll just give it Achane then, and I'll go from there. It's from a fantasy point of view, it's great.
But
in the Montana division, last but not least, in the Montana division, this was the one that was looking as close as it could possibly get, and it remains as close as it could possibly get. So we've got the London Tube Raiders falling to Team Craigie Crago, 153 to 126. JJ Be Good gets back to the winning ways with 162 points against Team Jordan Dixon. So a battle of 2 5-5 teams there, with Razamundo's JJ Be Good taking the edge. Tom Cole's The Blair Walsh Project got their 6th win against Fiona, who looks out of it at 3-8. And then Corgis Unite will be disappointed with 121 points. Ryan Judge top scoring in that division with 173. So the table looks like this. Ryan Judge is 7-4, so he leads the way, but he's got 4 behind him at 6-5, and then 2 more at 5-6. If we assume Fiona's out of it, that's still pretty much a 6-way fight for 3 positions. So it's all to play for over the next few weeks in that division. Good luck to everybody in that. So that's the dynasty. I think we talked about. I mentioned the cup. Obviously, we've got the big competition of the year is our Dynasty Champions League. So that's where, if you're not aware, that's 14 teams go into the Champions League in a very similar to the Super Bowl type playoffs, and it runs across week 13, 14, 15, and 16. So the top 2 performing teams will get a bye into the second round of games, and we go from there. If you are on 8 or 9 wins, you are already confirmed into the playoffs. So those 6 teams, you will be in our Champions League. If you're on 7 wins, we've got 4 teams on 7 wins. You are in the driving seat, not completely confirmed, but looking very likely. If you're on 6 wins and you need a win, basically, to try and get yourself into that Champions League playoff places. So unfortunately for you, mate, you will miss out. But this year we're doing a Europa League too, so you'll fall into that. So the next 14 teams will fall into our Europa League, and then that means there's only 12 teams who miss out at the end of it. So slightly bigger prize for the Champions League, but it's all still fun. It's also just an extra competition to keep you interested.
Yeah, there's another reason to set your lineups as well.
Exactly. Right, redraft. Let's start in A, where a very familiar face leads the way. So I was absolutely devastated to lose in Division A this week. The Division A is the one where I started like a house on fire, and it went off, and I was like, oh, I'll make the playoffs in this division. And the closer we get to the playoffs, the more concerned I'm getting about whether I'm actually going to make it or not. And it obviously, less than a 3-point defeat to Long Ping Snapper That's not what upset me. What upset me is I've lost with Josh Allen scoring 50 points. So my team kicked off with Josh Allen on 50 and Kenneth Walker on 20. And then I checked it and I was like, how have I lost that? So Quinshon Judkins, Jalen Waddle obviously disappointed. Jamar Chase is about as low a game as Jamar Chase is ever going to score. Cade Otton disappointed. Lad McConkey. I mean, if you'd have told me I had 70 points plus Waddle, Chase, McConkey, and Adams going into the weekend, I don't think anybody would have said I was going to lose that. But not one of them managed to get to 10 points in a full PPR. I mean, and Devontae Adams scored a touchdown and still couldn't get anywhere near 10 points. So
I think he left his hands at home at the weekend, did Adams.
Oh, it was poor. And Boswell and the Houston Texans defense did all right, but I lost it there in the wide receivers and tight end position. And it's, devastating loss that. It's not all about me, so let's move on. Big win for Rookie Raven with the top scorer of the division, 174 points. Probably too late at 3-8, but you never know. Broken, beaten, and scarred, 133 points. A win on only 122 for Evdokios gets him to 6-5. Team Ram Raid only scored 110 and grabbed a win to move to 7-4. And then your hot off the griddy were beaten with just 115 points to DS Liddy's 127, but you still lead the way in this division at 8-3. So on your own at 8-3. One team behind you, Ram Raider at 7-4, and then there's 4 of us at 6-5.
Make up the rest. I play Ram Raider this week as well, so that would be an interesting one.
So it's a fight for top spot. Although on points scored, it looks like you're going to hold on to that even if you lose. I think that's pretty much win, and you'll have a bye pretty much confirmed. I would think this week.
It'd be nice to have the cushion then to kind of start planning the playoffs. Which, I mean, you might notice from one of the roster moves there is kind of part of my plan at the minute as well.
Yeah. The Daniel Jones move. That's brave. As a Colts fan, I'm all in on Jonathan Taylor. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and we'll keep flying that MVP flag. Daniel Jones terrifies me.
He's more to do with the matchups though as we get towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but he still terrifies me. So he's got. There's no doubt he's got big games in him. So
if that doesn't terrify you enough, the other guy is Jackson Dart. So
well, yeah, that's true. And so they're looking in on the playoffs. We've got Providence Steamroller from Mezzanine and Seahawks Sixers, the final boss, both at 5-6, only a game back off third place. So basically, it looks like I would put money on the top 2 making the playoffs. Obviously, I think you've got 1 foot in there, all but confirmed, and then I think it's going to be 4 of 6 from the ones behind. I don't think 3-8 is going to be enough. Even if you run the table and finish 6-8, I don't think that'll be anywhere near enough. So, so those 2 are out of it. But I really, really feel like I need a win in the next couple of weeks, ideally this week. So,
yeah,
we shall see. In Division B, a better week. As you would expect from a team called Penguins of Dallas, 157 points. Obviously, I've got Dak, I've got Lamb, I've got Pickens. So going into Monday night, I was fully expected to win. Not that any of that matters when you're putting up 59 points against me. So that was a pretty easy win. Connor French is leading the way in the division at 9-2. What I should have said, actually, is there are 4 teams who've locked in a playoff place. Obviously, we went through Division A. You're leading the way at 8-3. Not quite confirmed a playoff place, but there are 4 teams who've confirmed a playoff place, of which 2 are in this division. Overall, we've got 3 teams at 9-2 and another 4 at 8-3. Obviously, being yours Division A team being one of those, and Ian's Division B team being another one at 8-3, and then obviously Connor French there at 9-2. So there's wins for Connor French, Bodybag Ben, a win for H to get him to 6-5 and keep him alive against Ian, which I'm sure will have pleased him if he's noticed. Scottish Patriot with a win to stay alive at 4-7 against Garmo's. Clue is in the handle, and Kittle Mix PPR moves to 7-4 as well. So that's how the table looks. 9-2, 8-3 are the 2 teams who are already confirmed a playoff place. Due to the team in 7th only having 4 wins, and then we've got 2 teams at 7-4, 1 team at 6-5, and 1 at 5-6. So the 2 teams at 4-7 still alive, but it does mean that the top two are now playing for the bye, of which Connor French gets one more win. He'll at 10-3, 10-4. He'll feel pretty confident of completing that bye, grabbing the bye. In Division C, neither of us are in Division C. I'll flick through this quickly. Groves United 2 with a 10-point win, only 118 points scored. They're the ones you want to win. Similarly, Stop the Boats with a win, 121 points. Jamie G, who's obviously having a good year in Dynasty, has moved to 6-5 with that win. Crucial win, 154 points. And Jack Donnelly will be disappointed to be 6-5 when he looks at his score and looks at the rest of the matchups. That's the second highest score of the week, and he's managed to lose with it. Gumby Beard with 132 wins and Team Dingling with 133 wins as well. So the table looks like this. Gumby Beard is confirmed in the playoff place at 9-2. So congratulations to him. We've got two teams at 7-4, 3 at 6-5. Dingling on the outside at 5-6, and Jim Jamamba at 4-7 with that point scored. He's probably going to struggle even if he wins the next 3. Got to keep fighting though, because you never know. Yeah. In D, Jack Donnelly, a little bit more luck in this division, 166 points, moves to 9-2. He is into the playoffs, so that's the 4th team confirmed to be in the playoffs. So congratulations to him with that win there. Big Bods with a 5-point victory over SGAF F84 to stay alive at 4-7. Scottish Patriot, 117 points, is more than enough to beat a shocker of a week for Long Pink Snapper. The closest matchup of the week, Field of Dreams, less than a point, in fact, barely half a point victory over Bear Down LCFC. They're the ones that really hurt. We've talked about this on the podcast before. I think Ian lost a matchup by a point this week in one of his divisions. And it's like they're the ones that hurt. Like I don't mind losing, but I want to lose by 50 points and know that there was nothing I could have done to make any difference. I don't want to lose by half a point and think, well, if I'd have done this differently. Yeah, so likewise. So if we scroll down and go, he's left on the bench. To be fair,
there's a couple of empty spots or one empty spot.
Oh yeah. Beat him with empty spots, beat him with a 0. Oh, you can't complain at that.
No.
You're always going to lose. And a poor week for Bronco Boy, 3-8. Probably, well, definitely out of it, and it's probably noses out of it at this point. So I'm guessing there might be an empty spot or 2 in there as well. If Dokios gets the win, 135 points. As we talked about earlier, like there are going to be teams who switch off at 3-8 and then have got other teams to focus on. Nothing you can do to stop that, unfortunately. That's fantasy football. Jack Donnelly leads the way, as we talked about already in the playoffs, 9-2, 1 win away from confirming a bye. 9-2, you would expect him to get one of those 2 byes. Field of Dreams and Scottish Patriot at 7-4, 1 team at 6-5, and then 3 in the fight at 5-6. Wouldn't count these 2 teams out of 4-7, only a win back off 5th place. So Big Bod's going to struggle with that point scored, which is one of those things that comes into, you don't really pay attention earlier in the year, but as it gets a bit closer and you think I could get back to 7-7, but then if I haven't got the points to go with it, it's not really going to matter.
That's when it's the tiebreaker, yeah.
Yeah. In Division E, it was another loss for your lot this week. So start at the top. So I got 167 points in this division, which is good. Moved me to 8-3 against Jake LP. A win for James 87 with 114. A win for Drift Edge with 133. A win for Random Task against Brown Bear Ricks, finding Nico 147 to 128. Disappointed with the performance from your lot in Division E?
I mean, I didn't think I had that bad of a lineup, to be fair. Brees Hall struggled a bit in his game, and then Swift and Marks, I thought could have had better scores, but yeah, I mean, the defense and kicker that he put out there give him a good, solid foundation in the matchup as well. Nearly 30 points from the 2 of them. So yeah, he's done well. Woody
Marks has cost you in a couple of teams this week, hasn't he?
Yeah, you kind of see that matchup against the Titans, and you think, oh, they'll get up a little bit and they can run the ball, and it just doesn't play out that way, unfortunately.
I think Breece Hall, it's interesting you bring Breece Hall up because I've got him in a few leagues, and he's a pain in that you don't know when. Like, he's going to have, what have we got, 6 weeks left? He's going to have 3 good weeks and 3 average weeks or below average weeks, and you just don't know. You can't look at the matchup and work it out. You don't know what the Jets are going to do. So it's just a case of playing him and hoping for the best, really. And I hate being in that situation.
They got a couple of wins recently, didn't they? So like, playing against Cincinnati and Cleveland. Like Cleveland, I didn't think was going to be a good game for him because that defense. But Cincinnati's always one where you kind of, they're playing Cincinnati. Let's start picking those players. But
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he gets on. And at the bottom there, Ramalama Ding Dong, the commission's bro, with a 22-point win over Book Goose. He was messaging me, fuming that he wasn't winning at the point. But obviously that all worked out at the end. So I don't know who he was waiting for. I think it was Bo Nix. I think he was waiting for some points from Bo Nix. That's nice check. Yeah, he still only put up 12 points, but Kittle's obviously done the job for him. And eventually got the points he needed. So I'm top of this
the
one.
The irony is, like, Justin Fields putting up 21 points though in that week.
Yes, definitely. I'm leading the way at 8-3 with the most points scored. So, but there's 3 teams below me at 7-4. So we're a long way from being anywhere near secured in. Almost got a playoff place secured, but definitely not got the bye secured. Although that's what I'm currently aiming for. You're still
like one win for you.
Yeah, just comfortably sat in the playoffs at 6-5. Although with 2 teams on your heels at 5 and 6, both of them would have to catch you to knock you out of the playoffs. So you still must be feeling pretty confident there.
Yeah. Well, like you say, with any given week and stuff like that, still hoping to get a couple of wins quickly and then then start thinking about the playoffs. I think
it's that let's get the playoffs. So you've got Jake LP's here to do this to you this week. So a win gets you up to 7-5 with level with them. If I can beat Ramalama Ding Dong for you, that'll put them at 7-5 as well. So that'll put you in the hunt for the bye at that point. So you go from big week this week. Defeat leaves you 6-6, looking over your shoulder. A win leaves you looking at the bye. That's how close these leagues can get, which is why I love this time of year. I was just thinking about it earlier. I was like, next week I think is my favorite week of the NFL season. Like Thanksgiving, we have those 3 games. You've got those 3 games spread out. Like you can just focus on those games. We've obviously got the Friday night game now at a decent time, and it's at the point in the season where. It's at a point in the season where all these your fantasy matchups matter so much more as well, because the difference between 6-6 and 6-6 and 7-5 is massive at this point, isn't it? Last but not least, the division that you did manage to get a win in. So a win for my Wall Street Penguins, 159 points. Doesn't matter because I'm 3-8. So there's no coming back from 3-8. Galzinho drops to 7-4. Long Pig Snapper has had a couple of bad performances in various different leagues, but a win there of 150 points. Again, doesn't really matter at 3-8. Drubit moves to 6-5 against Let's Book and Bait, also 3-8. MetLife Crisis with a win, 136 points. And then return of T-Mac, 145 points. Massive win over Pestle to get you to 8-3 in this division and leading the way. So that's two of our 6 divisions that or 2 of the 3 divisions you're playing in. You're leading the division 8-3.
Yeah, still need a couple of wins though, even because this one is really tight in terms of.
I mean, speak for yourself. It doesn't look that tight down my end of the table. So.
Having said that, like it looked like 2 of the bottom 3 all won this weekend. So
so we've got, so to say. Yeah, we've got you at 8-3. You've got 2 teams below you at 7-4. Obviously, MetLife Crisis with slightly more points scored as well. But you've got a really good chance of a bye here. Galzinho's spent up for what that for what it's worth. So he's put everything into it. He's got no fab to go with.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like just 2 wins still might not secure me a playoff spot yet. So we'll have to see what the next couple of weeks brings.
It looks like I reckon if you get a win this week, you'll be in the playoffs, and then maybe one more just to confirm the top spot. But it looks very much like somebody's going to miss out with a pretty good record with those 4 teams at 6 and 5. You would imagine someone's going to get to 7 and 7 and miss out, possibly even more. But it depends on how much of a fight the bottom 3 put up over the next few weeks. I did still have hope that I might be able to get to 6 and 8, but now we've got 4 teams on 6 wins already. I was like, I'm not fighting anymore. Although I didn't put as much effort in this week, made sure my lineup was set, and then obviously went on and won the game. So it just shows you maybe I should pay less attention. Last but not least, it was the first round of the cup this week, the redraft cup. So what are we doing?
I think I was already setting my matchup. Yeah.
So there was a win for my team against Drubert from Division F. A win for the Scottish Patriot gets him through against Pestle. A win for Mozza gets him through against Seahawk Sixers, and a win for H against my A team, which broke me. So H goes through. H goes through to play Ian for a chance in the last 16, and the winner of those gets a chance to play the winner of your matchup against Ads in the quarterfinals if you can make it through. Above that, I mean, I won't go through all the names, but I have got 1 team left in, obviously, after that win. I was really upset that I had 2 teams through and they both had to play in round 1. But this is the craziness of this system that I found, which has done a good job of sorting it all out for me. All those names are in there. What is quite nice is there's 16 different people in there, so it's not there's not 2 of my teams or 2 of anybody else's teams in there. It's 16 different lads in on the most part going for that cup win. So we will keep that up to date. For those of you who want to check this personally, that is the link to that is in the link to that is in the pinned tweet in all of the divisions. Yeah, so so check that out. And that's it. We've talked about the Champions League, we've talked about the Europa League. Before we finish up, I've got one question for you, which is the question we put it out on social today, and I'm dropping this on you a little bit, but you seem like you can handle it. I asked Ian this on the pod last night, which is where it came from. You're in quite a few dynasty leagues, so I'm guessing in at least one of them you would have had the number 1 overall pick in the summer, and when it came to rookie drafts, and if you didn't, I'm sure if you did have that number 1 overall pick, you would have gone with Ashton Genty. He was the I think. I didn't see
one. It was following up. Yeah,
consensus was the word I was looking for. My question to you is: if you went, knowing what you know now, if you were redoing that draft and you had the number 1 pick, would you still go with Ashton Genty?
So it's interesting because obviously it's dynasty. Now you theoretically could sit him in your taxi squad for a year just to see what happens, and then take it from the year after. Knowing what I know now, would I still go with him? I probably might go Hampton.
Okay.
Just because of landing spots. Because I mean the Raiders just haven't looked good at all. Not that the Chargers have been a lot better, but when they had their tackles in and healthy, and you just like that situation. For Hampton to run behind, basically. Who was I thinking about the other day? I'm thinking he's just in a really good situation. I was thinking about it the other day. There was one player who was like, he's just got a good O-line and he's just sat behind it. Oh, looks like Pete's lost his.
I don't know what happened then. I just completely went off. I was like panic stations.
So I think, just the situation with Hampton. Would probably be the way I went. The other person to kind of maybe bring into the conversation would be Tetaroa, because I think he's done really well at the Panthers. I think he was one of the reasons that, I had this conversation with Ian on the pod, and if you get a chance, have a listen. And
And Ian's a running back.
At the minute,
yeah, Ian's a running back guy. So he was just like, I mentioned Igbuka, and he was just like, no, I'm a running back guy. So he's like, he will always go running back. So he was talking Henderson. I don't think Hampton came up in the conversation, but again, Hampton's out for a few weeks, so it's off people's radar.
Yeah.
It's just interesting having that conversation. Sort of, we talked about maybe on the pod going back at the end of the season, going back and redoing the rookie redraft first round, or redrafting the rookie first round.
One of the situations I found myself in was I ended up getting the 2 and the 3 in one of my leagues with an IDP position as well. So I went, the number 1 went Cam Ward, quarterback needy. So that's why he went that way. So I ended up with Janty and Travis Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Because he's DB designation as well as wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I can stick him in that slot, and he can get his tackles and his interceptions and the yards and the touchdowns as well. So obviously, I think how it's set up could make a difference. Like, I don't think I would change my mind on Travis Hunter being the 101 in an IDP setup.
No, not in that.
On the basis that would just carry on every year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting conversation because I think Igbuka's now in the mix. Tetero McMillan's just getting better all the time, so I think he would put himself in the mix. Hampton, now Henderson's put a few weeks together and he's getting the ball. It's like it just feels like the second or third year on the trot where there's been an easy pick number 1. Everyone's agreed on it, and then it hasn't. Like Marv being last year's, I had Marv in a few leagues. And I still don't know whether that's a good pick or not. We're almost 2 seasons in, and I'm just hoping that eventually he's going to turn into his dad. So
if Kyler Murray comes back, I think we might have a bigger challenge.
I just don't know. But then I was thinking about this earlier in the year. It's like, I mean, going into the season, I don't think you could have swapped Marv for Brian Thomas or Malik Neighbours, and I think the Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbours managers would have gone, no, I don't want. I'm not taking that deal. Yeah. Whereas you fast forward 4 months, Brian Thomas looks like a completely different player at the moment, and obviously Neighbours has that horrendous injury which could take him 18 months to properly recover from, and then
still play on the same field again when he comes back.
Yeah, and then you kind of look at it and go, well, was Marv the one to choose out of the 3 in the end? Who knows? So it's funny how it changes over time, and one injury can change a lot in fantasy, especially from a fantasy football point of view. Listen, Mr. Brown Bear Rick, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. So again, apologies, it's taken us a few weeks. If things start panning out the way I expect them to in that Dynasty League, we will definitely need to get you back on to preview even if it's just for 5 minutes, to preview that big week 14 game that could make or break the team in the playoffs. But for now, thanks very much for having us on. And for everybody else out there, if you want to come on and talk about your teams, give me a drop me a shout in on Sleeper or on YouTube, and I'll get in touch.
Yeah, thank you very much. May everyone stay healthy unless you're playing me.